Let's talk about being alone. Does that idea make you just a little bit uncomfortable? Well, what if I told you that we've been looking at it all wrong? Today we're going to reframe solitude, not as something we should be afraid of, but as one of the most powerful tools you have for finding out who you really are.
You know that feeling, right? Maybe you're in your car or just sitting in a quiet room and suddenly it's just you and your thoughts. For some people, that's pure bliss, but for a lot of us, that silence can be, well, pretty loud. It can feel really strange in a world that's always buzzing. And believe it or not, there's a word for that feeling: monophobia, the fear of being alone. And it makes total sense, doesn't it? We are constantly plugged in, phones in our hands, notifications going off. So the idea of actually disconnecting and just being with ourselves, yeah, that can be genuinely scary. But today, we're going to challenge that.
Okay, this is probably the most important distinction we're going to make. We throw the words loneliness and solitude around like they're the same thing, but they are polar opposites. Loneliness is that painful feeling of lacking connection. It hurts. But solitude, that's a choice. It's a rich, full state of being with yourself, not missing others. One is a problem to solve, the other is a state to embrace.
So here's the big question we're exploring. What if being alone isn't a bug, but a feature? Some of the most incredible thinkers in history didn't run from solitude. They ran towards it. They saw it as a kind of superpower, the secret ingredient for building a stronger, more authentic, and more meaningful life.
All right, let's dive into our first path. This one's a biggie. We're starting with the radical idea that solitude isn't just nice to have. It's absolutely essential if you want to achieve any kind of real greatness and truly own your life.
And our guide for this path is none other than the intense, often misunderstood philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Now, Nietzsche had a huge problem with what he called herd morality. Just going along with the crowd, believing things because everyone else does. For him, the only way to live a life worth living was to break free from that.
And wow, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? To own yourself. That means having the guts to think for yourself, to forge your own values, even if it means you have to stand completely alone. It's not easy, and it often requires solitude, but the payoff, that genuine self-ownership, is priceless.
So for Nietzsche, solitude isn't about quietly relaxing. No way. It's an active, fiery workshop, a crucible. It's the one place you can get quiet enough to actually hear yourself think and ask, wait a minute, do I really believe all this stuff the herd told me to believe? It's where you forge your own identity. It's a struggle for sure, but he believed it was the only way to become a fully realized individual, his famous Übermensch, instead of just getting lost in the crowd.
Okay, so if path 1 was about greatness, path 2 is about getting real. This is all about how we use solitude to live a life that is truly, deeply, and deliberately our own.
And for this, we've got a fantastic 1-2 punch. We've got Søren Kierkegaard, the philosopher who's going to give us the big why, and then Henry David Thoreau, the naturalist, who's going to show us the practical how.
3 simple words, but man, did they pack a punch. For Kierkegaard, the moment you join a crowd, you start to lose a piece of yourself. The crowd encourages groupthink. It smooths out all your unique edges. He believed that real truth, your personal truth, can only be found on a solo journey, when you face yourself as one single, responsible individual.
And here is Kierkegaard's philosophy in the wild. Literally. Thoreau didn't just write about this stuff. He went out and did it. He walked away from society and built a cabin at Walden Pond. Why? Because he wanted to strip away all the noise, all the distractions, and figure out what actually mattered. He wanted to live on purpose.
So, the huge takeaway here is that solitude is a tool. It's not about escaping the world forever. It's about creating a space where you can unplug from the constant static of society to finally plug back into yourself and hear what your own life is trying to tell you.
All right, for our third and final path, we're going inward. We're moving from philosophy to psychology to see how solitude is the training ground for building a truly resilient and complete mind.
And our guides for this deep dive are 2 absolute heavyweights. We have Carl Jung, who will take us into the depths of our own psyche, and Jordan Peterson, who brings these ideas into the modern day, showing us how to use them to face the chaos of life.
So, Jung had this incredible idea called individuation, which is basically the journey to becoming a whole person. And look at the first step. It all starts with solitude. Why? Because in that quiet, you can finally face what he called your shadow. All the parts of yourself you don't like, the stuff you deny or push down. The goal isn't to destroy the shadow, but to understand it and integrate it. By bringing those hidden parts into the light, you become more complete and less controlled by them.
And this is the beautiful paradox of that inner work. You might think it's a selfish process, but it's the opposite. Once you've had the courage to look at your own flaws and your own darkness in solitude, you develop a profound compassion for the struggles you see in other people. It makes you a better human.
And Jordan Peterson really brings this home for us today. He argues that solitude is your personal training ground. It's where you go to voluntarily confront your problems and your fears. It's where you sort through the chaos of your life, figure out a plan, and build the mental toughness, that inner fortitude you're going to need to handle whatever life throws at you.
Okay, we've heard from Nietzsche, Thoreau, Jung, some seriously brilliant minds. But now, the conversation turns. It's no longer about them. It's about you. This is your personal invitation to think about this. So let me ask you this, and be honest with yourself. When you get a moment of silence, a moment alone, what's your immediate instinct? Is it to grab your phone, turn on a podcast, fill that space immediately? Or do you see it as a precious chance to just be, to check in with yourself and see what's really going on in there?
And here's the final thought I really want to leave you with. In the world we live in today, a world of nonstop noise and distraction, choosing solitude isn't passive. It's not an escape. It's a radical, powerful act of rebellion. It's an act of taking back control of your own mind. And honestly, it's one of the greatest forms of self-care there is.
Ultimately, that's what this is all about. Solitude is a gift you can give yourself. It's the opportunity to finally quiet the world down so you can hear the whisper of your own inner voice, honor what it is you truly want, and find the clarity to chart a path that is 100% yours. It's not about being lonely, it's about finally coming home.